Wait, hold on. The market's not seeing any of this? Warren Buffett came out the other day and he said that the market's in a gambling mood, right? That is the reason why most traders actually lose money. I realized that I was doing it wrong. And when everything changed for me was one day when I ran an experiment. An experiment went something like this. They're trying to front run Michael Saylor's buy. One green candle and everything changes.
Can I challenge you?
The market can remain irrational. It's completely overheated.
Based on what?
We're in the middle of a war. Oil ain't flowing through the most important strait in the world. Countries that manufacture the chips that power the AI revolution that the whole market is built on ain't getting gas and ain't getting oil or whatever.
Yeah.
And the market is just saying, hey, no, we're good. Like, we're just going into all-time highs. Come on.
Can I challenge that again? I'm from Taiwan and we make chips.
Ran Neuner joins us right now. He's a founder of Crypto Banter, and I'm pleased to co-host this show with... And we're at Consensus Miami. Good to see you in person, Ran.
Good to see you, David. Good to see you, Bunny. Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the show. We're just talking about trading offline, but the personal lessons we've learned. I'll start with a personal anecdote. We all have personal anecdotes. My audience knows me as not someone who's not a very good trader. I always tell my friends, look, use me as a contrarian indicator because whatever I do, it turns out to be the wrong thing to do. And so I talk about FOMO a lot on my show. I always talk about not buying into FOMO and doing, using that as a contrarian indicator, but I fall for that. When Bitcoin was at $110,000, $120,000, everyone was talking about $200,000. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get in. Anyway, I'll stop there.
You'll be glad to know that you're not alone and that is the reason why most traders actually lose money.
Yeah.
And that's because they're human. And all humans actually follow the same emotion cycles. And I was exactly the same as you. When I started trading crypto, in 2015, 2016. And in those days, Bitcoin could go from $300 to $1,000 and back down to $300 in one day. And I'll never forget that the first big batch of Bitcoin that I bought them at, I think $500. It went up to $1,000. And then they got flooded all the way down to $300 and I sold them all at $300. And then 15 minutes later, I bought them back for $800. So I realized that I was doing it wrong. And when everything changed for me was one day when I ran an experiment. An experiment went something like this. I opened my normal trading account and I opened a second account. In the second account, I put a very little bit of money in, not a lot. And I took that second account and I said, whatever I feel like doing, I'm going to do the exact opposite in this account. So when I felt like buying, in that account I sold. On my big account I bought. When I felt like selling, I bought on that account and I sold on my main account.
Literally started a hedge fund.
And what happened was, my big account emptied itself out. And this tiny account actually today is my trading account. And why? Because over time, what I realized is that every time that you want to do something, do the opposite. It's that simple. Because when you want to do something, everybody else also wants to do something, right? So when you're talking about buying Bitcoin, everybody's thinking about buying Bitcoin. Yeah. When you're thinking about, you're never early. You're not early. And so unless you have inside information or whatever else, and if you're trading on sentiment or trading on price moves, you're not early.
Let me just ask you one question. I know Bonnie has a lot of follow-ups. We're here at Consensus Miami. It's a good turnout. It wasn't as good as last year when, we were doing our shows in Miami. In New York, it's just sentiment. No, I'm talking about the sentiment here and the attendance, right? It's like 3/4 full and people aren't as euphoric. Is that an indicator for you? Well, what do you feel?
Well, look at the crypto market. The crypto market has been, let's talk about the crypto market. We all expected a bull market. The bull market never came. It was a very small bull market in Bitcoin and it was a bear market in alts pretty much since January last year. Then whoever else was left here was flushed out on October 10th. If you were retail and you were trading on October 10th, you got flushed out. Then, since then, Bitcoin's been in that death chop sideways and down, right? So we've gone down from wherever we've been, we went down, we chopped and chopped and chopped. There's no one left. Crypto is not fun. On the other side of it, at the same time, have you traded equities lately? Listen, sex is good, but have you traded equities lately? Because equities have given, and there's been an incredible bull run in equities. You take a company like ScanDisk, or you take a company like Intel, you take a company like AMD. These companies are doing 2x, 3x, 4x, and 5x. That's why I got into crypto. At the same time, crypto is not giving us anything. It doesn't have a heartbeat. Look at Solana. Solana was the darling of the last 1.5 bull runs, right? It's at $85 and it's a stable coin now. Bitcoin's gone from 60 to today 81, 82, and Solana is still at $85. It just shows that the life has been taken out of the crypto market right now. And to be honest, I'm quite surprised that it's this full, and I'm quite surprised that people spend this much money on it. But I think we have been through a cleansing in the crypto market.
The bottom line, this is not a buy indicator for you. The fact that it's not as euphoric as last year. Because whenever, I've done a lot of shows in the past, I've seen you, as you know, whenever it was full, it usually is followed by a bear market. That's my experience.
So I agree. I mean, there is a chance that we've bottomed.
Yeah.
I think it's probably higher than 50% that we've bottomed. But there's also the traditional Bitcoin 4-year cycle. And if we are in the traditional Bitcoin 4-year cycle, and if you look at the chart, generally it goes down, which is from October 10th, and it goes slightly up, and then it flushes everyone down again. And now we're in the part where it's going back up. Actually, funny enough, today is the turning point, because if you don't mind, I'll steal your chart here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. TradingView, if you guys are watching this, can you please sponsor David for a paid subscription? Because
I'll start a GoFundMe. Thank you.
He's using
struggling.
Yeah, he's using the unpaid version, and it's very hard to chart on the unpaid version. So if anybody from TradingView or anyone knows anyone at TradingView, please could you help David?
Cheers.
Otherwise, if you could just like and subscribe and just do a GoFundMe link at the bottom. So I said to you today was the turning point. This is what you call a bear flag, and the reason why it's a bear flag is because, as I mentioned to you guys, in a bear market, you go down and then you go up, and you convince people that the bull run's coming back, and then you flush them out, right? And then you go down, and then you go up, and you try and convince people that this move from 60,000 to 80,000 was the end of the bear market, and we're back in a bull market, and then you flush again. That's not typical of a bear market, a Bitcoin bear market. It did happen once in 2022, and this could be a fake out again. But, again, if it breaks, we could be back in some kind of bull market.
According to the cycle, the bear market should end in October 2026.
Correct.
And this is happening now. How do I know which one is true?
You don't. You have to assign probabilities by looking at different patterns, right? So if you're following the 4-year cycle, if that's your thesis, then you would say, if you're following the 4-year cycle, this has to be a bear flag, and at some point the bear flag has to break down. Problem is, if on the chart the bear flag has broken the trend, then you've got to reevaluate your thesis and say, hold on a second, is this cycle maybe different, or is this just a normal 4-year cycle? I think that the 4-year cycle is a very weak thesis, because it's not really based on anything. It's based on the fact that the Bitcoin supply halves every 4 years. And in the beginning, when Bitcoin was emitting 50 and there were only 1 million coins, when you added 50 to 1 million coins, that was like quite a big addition. But now we're emitting 3.125 or whatever that number is, and there's 20 million coins in circulation. The impact that the halving has really can't be that significant. So I don't believe fundamentally in the 4-year cycle. That said, it has held true. So I've got to keep it as a in the back of my mind when I'm evaluating scenarios, that may be a scenario. I think that there's about a 50% chance that it's going to get invalidated now. And I think that there's actually a reason for it. I don't think blindly that it's going to be invalidated. I think if it was a normal market cycle, then I think we would have probably carried on going down. But it's not a normal market cycle. Why? 2 reasons. One is that the S&P 500 and the stock markets are going through a period of exuberance, extreme exuberance. So much so that we're in the middle of a war. Gas prices have doubled, tripled in some places, right? Which means inflation is inevitably going to go up. You cannot have gas prices at $4 a gallon, or whatever it is, or whichever country you live in, which were $2 a gallon not so long ago. Jet fuel has also doubled, which means that flights around the world and transportation around the world is effectively doubled. you cannot have that scenario with increasing inflation and stock markets at an all-time high breaking through channels, right? So that is the chart of the S&P 500. And as you can see, it's been in a channel for quite a long time, right? Like it's been in a channel since I think 2000, and actually the channel goes very far back. But what you can see, if you look here, is that we've actually just broke. Imagine if there was a trend line over here, you would have actually broken through that channel as well. Okay, now, so how is it that we're in a period of a war, period of rising gas prices, and the S&P 500 has just gone into all-time highs and basically brushes off the war? Remember, the war is not confined to the US. Korea, Japan can't get enough fuel, can't get enough gas, can't get enough fertilizer. The UAE is getting bombed. Qatar's main gas lines have been bombed. Like, and wait, hold on. The market's not seeing any of this? So we're in a period of market exuberance. Even Warren Buffett came out the other day and he said that the market's in a gambling mood, right? When the market's in a gambling mood and when the market gets to all-time highs, that's very good for Bitcoin and for risk assets that are sitting very far down the curve.
美国政府在借钱，企业在借钱，房地产在借钱，很多高资产族群其实也不想要轻易卖掉自己的核心资产，尤其是在这种高波动的市场里面，很多人更在意的是，我有没有办法先取得流动性，不是直接把资产卖掉。像是在加密货币市场呢，就很多人选择像是 Nexo 这种借贷平台，把加密货币作为抵押品借贷，最高可以借出资产价值的50%。现在透过下方资讯栏连结加入呢 ，App 打开之后，仪表板上会看到信用中心，点进去之后呢，就可以找到不同的抵押方式，会员的等级越高，利率越好。但是要提醒大家，风险呢，如果没有计算周全，或者是遇到这个资产的大幅下跌，要不然就是遇到平台的风险，还是会面临强制平仓。Nexo 是一家成立于2018年的数位资产管理平台，同时也是奥迪 F1 团队的官方合作伙伴。那 Nexo 除了可以借贷，也可以在上面领取收益。App 的仪表板上面储蓄中心点进去，就可以按照步骤申请质押，持续领取收益。频道现在的优惠呢，是用专属连结加入的，7天之内只要存入$5000，就可以获得30天 Platinum 会员的资格，得到理财最高 15% 的年化收益。当然还有其他的福利，详细资讯呢我会放在资讯栏。
So that's the first thing that is working in our favor now in Bitcoin, which could invalidate the 4-year cycle, is that we're going through a period of real stock market exuberance. The second thing is we have a madman, a good madman. His name is Michael Saylor, and he's created a product which is called STRC Stretch, which is a financial engineering genius. That's what it is. He promises to pay 11.5% yield, paid monthly, to anyone who buys this product. And so what he's done is he's created a vehicle where people are buying, giving him money, expecting to get 11.5% a year back. You ask him, where do they get the 11.5% a year back? I'm raising from you to pay him. And everyone just agrees that that's fine. Generally, that would be a Ponzi, but it's not a Ponzi because it's actually backed by Bitcoin. So why is that important? Because in the middle of every month, the STRC becomes what they call XDiv. XDiv means that if you're holding it after that date, you don't get the dividend anymore, right? And so whenever that happens, if you look at the chart, it dips because here you get the dividend, but then if you're holding it after that date, you don't get the dividend. Every time STRC goes above 1, he can go to the market and raise because it's trading above par. And so now what's happening is the market's preempting every time STRC is going to get back to 1, close to the ex-dividend date. And so they're trying to front-run Michael Saylor's buy. So if I say to Dave, you know that in a week or 2 weeks, Michael Saylor is going to raise $3 or $4 billion and buy Bitcoin with it. What are you going to do? You're going to buy Bitcoin now before he raises the money and buys Bitcoin with it. And so the whole market's doing that. Everyone's trying to front-run Saylor's trade, and therefore the price of Bitcoin's going up. And in 2 weeks, Michael Saylor will go and buy his $3 or $4 billion worth of Bitcoin. And so the cycle perpetuates itself. And so when you put those two factors together, I think there's a very good chance that we've actually broken the 4-year cycle.
Can I challenge you on the STRC theory?
Sure.
It started trading in July 30th, 2025. But if that theory is true, then Bitcoin should be going up till now.
So the coin, the share, the instrument was launched into the market. it took a while for the market to understand what this instrument actually is, right? People first believed it was too good to be true. Saylor was running around promising people a 9% yield. And it only really took off a lot when Saylor went out and he said, I'm going to 11.5%. Then the market doubted it and they said, well, where are you getting the money from? And he said, by the way, I've already got 2 years worth of dividends in a cash reserve. So for 2 years, I don't have to worry.
You got a lot of stuff you have.
You got a lot of stuff for that job.
But
So it took time for the product to get momentum. Now, when did the product actually get momentum, right? Towards the end. So towards the end, which is exactly when the war started. The war started on the 28th of Feb. And now everyone's worked out the formula. When it gets to the last day of the dividend, people dump it. Until then, it basically just keeps going up and up and up because every day you're getting closer and closer and closer to the dividend. So today, I think if you look at it, it's at 99.96. Tomorrow, when you look at it, it'll be at 99.97. The next day, 99.98, 98.99. At 1, he can go to the market. He can sell these things at $1, which is par value, raise money at par value. Whatever money he gets, he just buys more Bitcoin. As he buys more Bitcoin, the price goes up. As the price goes up, he becomes more convinced, or the market becomes more convinced that he can pay back the dividend, and then you get this self-perpetuating cycle. So that's why I think he may have single-handedly saved the Bitcoin bear market, or traded us out of the Bitcoin bear market.
and also changed 4-year cycle.
Yeah. Because you have an unnatural buyer in the market because he's created this new instrument it's an infinite glitch. He just keeps printing more money to buy more Bitcoin.
Doesn't that also completely invalidate the reason to buy Bitcoin, which is that it's decentralized?
Well, no. Although I don't like the fact that one party has so much Bitcoin, and there's only one reason why I don't like it.
I mean, you're basically, for the last 10 minutes, explain why one party is moving the price.
So what he owns today, 800,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
800,000 Bitcoin is 4% of the Bitcoin supply ever. If he carries on buying like this, safe to say that he could own 5%, maybe 6% of the total Bitcoin supply. On the one hand, that's a very unhealthy market structure where one participant owns 5 or 6% of the Bitcoin supply. No matter how many Bitcoin you have, you can't change the market structure of Bitcoin because the coins don't vote. It's not like a company where the more equity you have, the more vote you have. The coins don't vote. The only participant in the market structure in Bitcoin that votes are the miners, right? And the miners vote where the money is. So the miners are a bunch of people that own computers and they just want to produce Bitcoin at the highest price possible, right? And whether Saylor owns 5%, 6%, or even 100% of the Bitcoin supply, he can't vote against it. It's not a voting share. So it's still as decentralized as it was before. When they talk about decentralization, it means which entity owns the most mining, and can the miners be coerced into changing the blocks, and they can't.
How does this impact the rest of the crypto market?
So
If you assume Bitcoin dominance is going to hold, this should have impact on prices for other altcoins.
So right through this market spike of Bitcoin, the altcoins haven't moved. Ethereum is at 2,300. Solana remains at $85. There have been selective small altcoins that have moved. Zcash has moved from $260 to today $430. Hyperliquid's moved from $28, $29 to $43, $44. Smaller altcoins have actually moved. I think what the market's saying is we don't trust this. I think like a normal cycle, there's the market cycle of crypto which goes Bitcoin, ETH, large cap alts, small cap alts. Let's first get confidence that this run is real by letting Bitcoin break the bear flag. Once that's happened, I expect to see dominance falling off a cliff. Right now, I think dominance is at 60% or 60.5%. We can quickly have a look at your
BTC.D.
unpaid version of TradingView.
That's the theme throughout this episode.
That's my title, by the way. TradingView sponsor.
So 61.31. So look at the
Yeah.
On this unpaid version of things. Just look at the BTC dominance chart up at 61.31. This is a very good sign, by the way. This is a very, very, very good sign. Why? Because if you go back historically, And you look at every time you have a green big candle spike in Bitcoin over here, every single time that's caused an altcoin run afterwards. So you almost want to think about it like a diver getting into a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And the Bitcoin dominance chart going up, and then, so that's pretty much what this looks like.
I'll let Fonny answer the next question. I'm going to overlay this with the NASDAQ.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people treat altcoins like the tech stocks, but now the tech stocks are trading like altcoins. If you're a trader, you don't really care about the underlying asset that you're trading. Why do I even trade crypto?
So right now you don't. Right now, crypto is not a trader's market. There's been no volatility. Also, traders are generally unsophisticated, which means that they make money on longs and not on shorts. So good traders can make money on longs and shorts. Most traders are making money on longs. The majority of traders are making money on longs. This is not a trader's market, which is why crypto exchanges have pivoted to allowing people to trade tokenized stocks. So actually, I had dinner with a friend of mine who runs an exchange last night, and he said, we're making so much money on the tokenized stocks that the crypto doesn't even matter anymore. So right now, it's not a trader's market. Right now, it's a value market for long-term investors. If you truly believe in the technology, you truly believe in Ethereum and tokenized assets or Solana and whatever gets built on Solana, Solana at $80 is a gift. Can it go down to 65? Maybe. But can it go up to 1,000? Also maybe. So for me, the risk return now just makes sense to buy long-term. Would I be trading the crypto market? No, impossible. The moves just aren't big enough at the moment.
My question here is, okay, Ethereum is useful, Solana is useful, but that doesn't translate into a higher price for these assets.
In a bear market where there's no interest and no velocity in trading, I agree with you. In crypto, we have a saying, and the saying is one green candle and everything changes. So you get one green candle and Bitcoin goes from 80,000 to 100,000, and that's happened every single bear market. Once that happens, all the interest flies back in. And then it's almost like the casinos open for business again. Why? Because those stocks that you spoke about? Problem is that they're not open 24 hours. And the dopamine addicts, the traders, want to trade things 24 hours, right? And the stock that you spoke about, well, that's a really big market and it's quite liquid. And it's really hard to move a big market. But when an illiquid market starts moving, the 100 and 200% that you're getting in 3 months and 4 months in a stock, well, you're getting it in 24 hours in some coins. And so that's when the whole cycle perpetuates itself. So I think right now it's not a trader's market. It's a value investor's market. If you've got some patience, you buy now. We started off this interview saying David keeps buying when we're in peak hype. Look, I've seen a lot of bull markets, and I can tell you the stock market is overheated. Can it remain overheated for another 6 months? Yes.
Based on what?
I think the market can remain irrational. It's completely overheated. Based on what? Based on how quickly people are making money in the markets, based on the fact that the market doesn't go down for any reason. There's nothing in the market that can bring the market down. Look, again, I say, I don't know if you've realized or not, but we're in the middle of a war. Oil ain't flowing through the most important strait in the world. Countries that manufacture the chips that power the AI revolution that the whole market is built on ain't getting gas and ain't getting oil, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the market is just saying, hey, no, we're good. Like, we're just going into all-time highs. Come on. The market's completely irrational at the moment.
Can I challenge that again?
Sure.
Because I'm from Taiwan and we make chips. So what happens is, I think energy, there is this worry of energy not being enough. But actually the war is not really affecting Taiwan or countries you mentioned, Japan, Korea, actually on ground.
First of all, there are shortages. Second of all, even if there are no shortages, the prices have doubled and quadrupled, which means that the price per AI credit, let's just call it simplified, is eventually going to start going up. And that wasn't factored into all the calculations when the PE multiples were calculated. This war has caused a lot of disruptions, and the markets are at all-time highs.
That I agree with you, but we don't know if it's going to 2-3x from here, and what is overheated.
Yeah, like I said, I'm still in the markets because they can carry on going up irrationally for a long time. But history of market cycles has taught me that when a market cycle gets heated, then it's time you should maybe take a few chips off the table. Most investors don't do that. Most investors have got FOMO now, and they're looking to deploy more money in because they're scared they're going to miss it. How do I know this? I woke up this morning, I saw Intel up another 12% today, and I was like, should I put some money into Intel? And then I thought about that second account of mine, and I said, now's the time to start shorting Intel. So let's look at the Intel price.
So you shorted Intel?
I didn't short it. I should. I'm not going to because I just don't have the time and the effort to monitor a short. And I explained to you why.
Third account, that's just cash.
So right now the price of look at that chart. I mean, that's completely normal, right? That's completely normal. Nothing wrong with that chart.
We call that AI boom.
You call it AI boom? Okay, great. It's at 108 now. I'm willing to take you a bet that at some stage in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you will be able to buy this back much cheaper.
I mean, it was, okay, just in the AI boom. I mean, the AI boom was all throughout here. It was losing to AMD and NVIDIA. I mean, help us explain this, just since you have this chart up.
You see where it started turning there?
Yeah.
The Trump administration bought a big chunk of Intel at that point.
Right, so it's not, okay, yeah. I mean.
So I'm just saying, look, the market can continue to go up for another 6 months, 12 months. But market cycles means that at some point the exuberance is going to die. There's no exuberance in crypto right now, or there's very little exuberance and excitement in crypto right now. So a value investor should be looking where there's less exuberance.
Let's come back to the markets in a few minutes. I have something I want to show you. This just came in from Coin Bureau's Twitter. Breaking Hyperliquid now trades more gold, oil, and silver than crypto. The platform is processing more volume in tokenized commodities than digital assets. The 24/7 advantage, which you just talked about, is pulling volume from traditional exchanges. Can you comment on this?
That's exactly what I told you when we were sitting here. I said the crypto exchanges are having the time of their lives because they've managed to tokenize these assets that traditionally trade on these highly regulated, highly KYC'd exchanges, which are closed after certain hours. And to be honest, we've been trading oil on Hyperliquid right through the weekends. Every time Trump drops a bomb or negotiates or whatever it does, we've been trading oil while the oil markets have been closed. And so, I mean, that's why I said Hyperliquid is probably a great one.
There's this chart of new YouTube viewers that watches English YouTube channels on crypto, and it was 4 million per day in 2021, and it's about 500,000 per day today. It hasn't been going up for 5 years.
Yeah.
What?
In 2021, a lot of damage was done to retail investors who came to crypto. I don't know if you remember, but we had a very big bull market and it dragged in a lot of retail money. And then we had the collapse of the ecosystem around a coin called Luna. I don't know if you remember Terra Luna. And that wiped out retail investors. Literally, people, I took the biggest loss I've ever taken. I think we did a show not long after that. And a lot of other retail investors lost a lot of money and kind of got really badly burnt by crypto. And they came back, some of them came back in certain spurts, but after, and those that did got flushed out on October 10th. And so right now, as I say, the retail interest for crypto is at an all-time low. The institutional interest is at an all-time high.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
How does that translate to prices?
So, as you've probably seen, the IBIT ETF or the Bitcoin ETF has been one of the, I think the most successful in history. The Ethereum ones are on a relative basis. When you take the market cap of Bitcoin divided by the total amount that the Bitcoin ETFs are bought, you take the market cap of ETH divided by the total amount that the ETH thing, ETH is not very far behind Bitcoin on a relative basis. The digital asset treasury companies, so Tom Lee with Bitmine, Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, they've been buying, but in order to get the velocity, you need the retail investor. If you want to get the stocks are about attention and velocity, or trading is about attention and velocity. If the reason why the big stocks do well is because all the attention and all the velocity is around those stocks. More options, more derivatives, more everything else trades around those stocks. Right now in crypto, there's no velocity. It's one-time buying, slow buying. You need velocity. You need energy around a stock. And that's what we don't have at the moment. We'll get it after one green candle. So the value investors buying here or maybe even lower, and then selling into the period of max velocity, which is again why I think that at some point, beware, because the stock market's going to do something at some point.
Let's step away from crypto for a minute. I love reading your X account and your posts. They basically write my script for me. This came in, as the audience knows, Spirit Airlines shut down over the weekend. You had a lot of saying about this. Jet fuel spiked. They weren't able to close a deal with the Trump administration. I mean, Spirit has been going through financial troubles for quite some time. This was the nail in the coffin. Elizabeth Warren had a lot to say about this, and you said, congratulations, Elizabeth Warren literally sent Spirit Airlines into liquidation. Wait, but what did Elizabeth Warren have to do with this? What did she mean?
I mean, the narrative was at the time that there was a deal on the table.
Yeah.
She was very vocal, and she wrote lots of letters around blocking the deal that was on the table to potentially rescue this airline, right? And as a result of not being rescued, and JetBlue had a salvage package for Spirit. Eventually, it was a DOJ thing, and it was Pete Buttigieg, you know how to pronounce his surname better than I do, and eventually the deal never went through.
Sure.
I mean, that's it. That's the long and the short of it.
But why should there be a deal in the first place? I thought you were a free markets guy.
Exactly. Let the market sort themselves out. Don't block them in the courts. Don't say that it's anti-competitive. And that's what happened. There was a deal. Both parties agreed to the deal. And then the DOJ and pressure from the politicians made it so there was no deal.
But should the governments even make a deal to begin with?
But the government wasn't making the deal. They blocked the deal.
Okay.
There was a deal between JetBlue and Spirit. JetBlue was going to rescue Spirit. They were going to take all the jobs. And when it happened, the DOJ launched an investigation and launched a court case, and under pressure, the deal fell apart. And so even though there was a willing buyer and a willing seller, and that's
what I mean, that the government should step in.
Shouldn't.
No, but that's the other argument. They should step in to prevent large conglomerates and large cartels from forming. This is an anti-competitive practice, right?
Is that what you believe?
Not that I'm just doing the opposite of whatever man's trying to say.
I mean, if you
trying to start a debate here,
then you're sitting more left, and I'm sitting a little bit more right on this fence. I think that in an ideal world, the government shouldn't get involved, but that's not really what happens in the real world. You do need to protect against competitive practices.
Yeah.
But here's one of the consequences. There was a deal on the table to save an airline. Now the airline's gone. 18,000 jobs or whatever are gone. Who's going to benefit from this? The airlines that are currently existing, right? Because no new airline is going to come up and try and launch now with gas prices where they are. So who's going to benefit? The same monopolistic airlines that would have done the deal in the first place. Look, this is a long discussion. It's about, whether you're sitting more left and more right. I sit very far right. I'm an extreme capitalist. Sure. I'm an entrepreneur. And I believe that government should stay out of commerce unless it's really, really, really warranted.
Last comment. Okay, this is not a left or right thing, but in Canada, as you know where I'm from,
very left.
We have
left.
and
very left.
I love a lot of things about Canada. I hate this part. There's a few oligopolies that control everything.
Yes.
Telecoms, transportation. It's probably one of the most anti-competitive G7 countries in the world. And it's just like everything is slow, bureaucratic, and the prices are uncompetitive because there's no competition.
Correct.
And maybe we should stop that from happening. Maybe there should be fewer of these larger mergers. I just plain devil's advocate here. What do you think? Because eventually, if these things keep happening, we're going to end up like Canada.
If you look at the history of Canada, Canada is traditionally a very leftist society with a lot of rules and a lot of bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. To get something done in Canada is very hard. And if you take the opposite, which is, for example, Dubai, right? Look at Dubai. Dubai is made for entrepreneurs. They're trying to eliminate as many rules as they can. and they try and create as much competition as they can. And that's why they've managed to do what they've done in that amount of time. Canada, to an extent, the United States, the EU, make it very difficult for people to set up businesses and start competing, right? Give me an example. I lived in New York for a while, and I tried to operate in New York to try and, build certain businesses. And everywhere you go, you need a permit and a license and another permit, another license. Okay, now, we eventually moved the operations to Dubai. We didn't need any permits, we didn't need any licenses. In fact, the government helped us.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Okay.
That's the difference. So again, I do think it sits, where you sit. I think Canada is very left, and I think you need to be more right. If you want to be faster growing today, then you need to be more right. And that's why I think, again, Dubai has its flaws, but it should be a case study around what can be achieved if you change the laws into aids. In other words, to aid people to actually do what they need to get done.
Places like Singapore, Dubai, or even China, they move very fast because of the system. But I cannot imagine places like Canada to go to that extreme or even close to that.
This is my hot take. I might get railed on this, but I think Canada has become more socialist than China.
I agree. I wasn't going to say it because I think the word socialist is quite a strong word, but I think it's you go so far left that eventually you look and you become socialist. I'll ask you a question. As a Canadian, how or where do you think Canada can win globally?
Needs more foreign direct investment, which they're not going to get by doing what they're doing now, which is to add bureaucracy to every single layer. In BC right now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in BC right now where I live, they're undergoing probably the most historic private property crisis in the entire country, where half the country, and to extend to 80% of the province, half the country is in a private property battle between the provincial government and
bureaucracy.
The Aboriginal native tribes. There's a land claim. We don't know who owns the land anymore. So direct investment's not going to come. We don't know if this piece of land belongs to First Natives or private property or Crown land. Everyone's fighting amongst themselves. The First Native tribes are fighting for control over land. So direct investment is gone.
Countries, one thing I've learned about countries is countries have a very long cycle of up and a very long cycle of down.
Yeah.
So if you think about I want to maybe use the US, but maybe the US is a bad example because Trump actually turned it. But if you go back to, the US went on a long cycle like this, and if we carried on with the Gary Gensler and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, if they got another 4 years, I would say at that point the US would have become uncompetitive, right? So countries go up for a long time, and then as they go up and they get bigger, they become more bureaucratic. And then as a result of that, they start to go down and down and down and down and down. And I think, to be honest, Canada's on the down. And you take countries, again, I use Dubai and certain other countries, but those countries, because they lack bureaucracy and they lack all these crazy rules that are designed to protect the incumbents, they are now thriving.
My final question, I'll pass to Bonnie. So what is the next casualty from higher jet fuel prices? Not jet fuel, but higher oil and higher fuel prices overall. We saw the JetBlue and Spirit Airlines merger failed. Spirit Airlines failed. What's the next casualty?
The next casualty is going to be Donald Trump. And I think why? Because I think if he doesn't get this under control really quickly, then he's going to lose the House and the Senate in the midterms. And then I think that then he becomes a casualty, right? Then he could be, at the extreme, he could be impeached. I don't think he'll get there, but at the extreme, he could be impeached. But if he doesn't sort out this war now, and inflation doesn't, because inflation data is 3 months delayed.
Yeah.
The oil prices from today are going to be reflected in the inflation numbers up until 3 months from now, right? Which means that today we're in May, June, July, August. Remember the midterms are in November, which means that you can't have inflation drop on the day of the midterms. You want it to drop 3-4 months before, so people can say, wow, look, inflation's coming down, we're all happy, things are getting cheaper. Every day that goes by now, he's risking the midterm elections. And so I think the next casualty is actually going to be, if he doesn't fix this war now and get the oil price down now, then America becomes the casualty, because then they've got You know, they've got to split. I don't know if it gets split or if the Democrats win both, but it just becomes a much tougher place to make decisions. And we know that indecision can destroy countries, can destroy companies, can slow things down.
Trump is visiting China in about 10 days. What do you think? If you were in the room, what do you think they'd talk about?
I don't know. When I say I don't know, it's such a tricky one because I don't know what the Chinese agenda is. I don't know enough to know the Chinese agenda.
What is Trump's agenda?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know because I think that's way above my pay grade, I'll be honest. I'd love to know, but they're playing a game of 7D chess that we can't even imagine. I mean, I'm sure they want to do trade deals and they want to, you know, I'll give you this and you give us that, but it's much deeper than that.
But I guess what I'm trying to ask is how does that affect the world? So right now there is the USD countries and the renminbi, like the Chinese yuan countries, where a lot of them are in Africa. You know, China is helping a lot of African countries build their infrastructure and stuff. How do you see this playing out in 10 years, let's say?
I think China becomes a much stronger superpower at some point. I hate saying it, but I think that's the case. And the reason why I believe that's happening is because if you look at how long it takes the US to get a decision about anything, right? It has to be the Democrats and the Republicans and they have to agree and have to. China, they just decide they're going to do something and it's done. Because if it's not, because that's just the way it works, right? Democracy has a lot of benefits, but speed is not one of the benefits of democracy. And that's why, like, again, let's go back to Dubai. The reason why Dubai works is because they don't have to discuss every decision. It just happens. The reason why China is doing that is because they don't have to discuss what I think is going to happen out of that specific visit. I think Trump's going to come out and say, we are good friends. We've done a good deal and everything's amazing and we're good friends. And I think it's just going to be a show for the rest of the world. I think that for now, for the foreseeable future, the US and China remain frenemies. You know, they'll remain best frenemies where they smile on the inside, but everyone's got their own agenda and you don't mess with my agenda and I don't mess with your agenda. I even think like the US attack on Iran was, you know, indirectly a blow to China. I'm sure that one of the reasons why it happened was because someone said, you know, if we do this, we could probably weaken China a little bit. So, you know, so I believe that they're going to be frenemies and they're just going to remain frenemies for a long time. Calculated friends and calculated enemies.
There's a rumor that Trump might add an additional tariff on China if they continue to give Iran weapons. Maybe that could be part of the talks next week. Stop giving Iran weapons and we'll lower the tariffs on you.
I think that he's going to talk to China about helping end this war because no one's winning here. And China's not gaining either.
Russia's winning.
Winning.
Russia's getting a lot more oil sales.
Russia is getting a lot more oil sales. Yeah. Well, some of the oil has been unsanctioned now, which is amazing. China's watching the Iran war, they're watching everything else, and I think they know that if they wanted to disrupt the world, it's just a little blockade. Like, we'll just do a little blockade outside Taiwan. You want to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, we'll just blockade outside Taiwan.
Yeah.
Now let's have a discussion.
Fair enough, yeah.
Back to your point, I watched this documentary on TSMC and someone was talking about how it is impossible to build a TSMC in the US or any other country because in Taiwan, they do 24-hour shifts. So for example, there's an earthquake and it's 1 a.m. Engineers actually leave their wives and their kids and they go straight back to the factory just to save the chips. That will never happen here.
Can you imagine they did that in Canada? Can you imagine what the unions would do? What do you mean they're working more than 4 hours a day? That's the difference.